Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai World News. We are kicking things off today with some truly jaw-dropping footage out of Japan. BBC News has reported on security camera video captured inside Kumamoto General Hospital, showing the terrifying moment last month's magnitude 6.8 earthquake struck, right in the middle of an active surgery. You can see doctors and medical staff instinctively rush to shield their patient on the operating table as the room shakes violently around them. Equipment rattles, lights flicker, and the medical team holds their ground, literally covering the patient with their own bodies to protect them from anything that might fall. It's one of those moments that reminds you just how extraordinary medical professionals are. The quake, which struck the Kumamoto region of Japan, registered a powerful 6.8 on the Richter scale. Japan, of course, sits on one of the most seismically active zones on the planet, and hospitals there train extensively for exactly these kinds of scenarios. And judging by that footage, the training clearly pays off. Absolutely remarkable composure under pressure. All right, from one incredible act of bravery to another. BBC News is reporting on an absolutely daring rescue operation carried out by an Australian aviation crew deep in the heart of Antarctica in the dead of winter. The team flew into McMurdo Station to evacuate a patient in need of urgent medical care, and the conditions they faced were nothing short of extreme. We're talking total darkness, because it's midwinter at the South Pole, and temperatures plunging to a brutal minus 43 degrees Celsius. Let that sink in. That's cold enough to freeze exposed skin in minutes. Landing a plane in those conditions, with no natural light and ice-covered terrain, is the kind of mission that most pilots would call impossible. But this crew pulled it off. The patient was successfully evacuated and is now receiving care. McMurdo Station is the United States' largest Antarctic research base, and getting someone out of there in winter is an extraordinarily rare and dangerous undertaking. This is the kind of story that doesn't get enough attention. Real-life heroes doing the unthinkable to save a life at the bottom of the world. Moving now to a story with serious geopolitical implications. BBC News is reporting that Taiwan's President William Lai was evacuated from his residence in the middle of the night as part of a large-scale emergency military exercise. This wasn't a real threat, it was a drill, but it was designed to simulate exactly what would happen if China launched an attack or military operation against the island. The midnight timing was deliberate, testing Taiwan's ability to respond rapidly and protect its leadership under the most stressful of conditions. Taiwan has been ramping up its military readiness in recent years as tensions with Beijing have continued to escalate. China has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control, and the island's leadership has made clear it's taking that threat seriously. Drills like this one send a message, both domestically and internationally, that Taiwan is prepared. It's also a signal to Washington and allies that the island isn't standing still. The exercise comes at a time when the broader Indo-Pacific security environment remains one of the most closely watched geopolitical situations in the world. Next up, a major move in the ongoing U.S.-China tech rivalry. BBC News reports that the Trump administration has imposed a 15% tariff on a critical material used in semiconductor manufacturing, in a direct effort to push back against China's rapidly growing chip industry. The administration says the move is designed to protect American firms as Chinese competitors continue to ramp up production and close the gap in advanced chipmaking. Now, semiconductors are the backbone of virtually everything in the modern world: smartphones, cars, AI systems, military hardware. Control over the chip supply chain is increasingly seen not just as an economic issue, but as a matter of national security. The U.S. has been tightening restrictions on China's access to advanced chip technology for several years now, and this new tariff is the latest escalation in that broader strategy. China, for its part, has been investing billions into building out its own domestic chip industry precisely to reduce its dependence on American and Western technology. This tariff is likely to further inflame trade tensions between the two superpowers, and markets will be watching closely to see how Beijing responds. Closer to home in the United States, BBC News is reporting from Spokane, Washington, where fast-moving wildfires have caused catastrophic destruction to residential neighborhoods. Officials say the blazes have burned down at least 860 buildings, with hundreds of those being family homes. BBC journalists on the ground are describing entire streets as simply wiped out. Foundations left where houses once stood, cars melted down to their frames, and communities that existed just days ago now reduced to ash. Firefighting crews are still actively working to contain the fires, but progress has been difficult. Wildfires in the American West have become increasingly severe in recent years, driven by a combination of prolonged drought, heat, and shifting wind patterns. For the families who have lost everything, the road to recovery will be long and painful. Emergency shelters have been set up across the region, and disaster relief efforts are underway. Our thoughts are with everyone affected in Spokane. This is an ongoing situation, and we'll continue to follow it as more information becomes available. On the economics front now, and this is a number that caught a lot of analysts off guard. The Financial Times is reporting that China's exports surged by nearly a quarter in July. Yes, almost 25%, driven largely by soaring global demand for high-tech goods. This is a significant figure, and it signals that despite all the trade tensions, tariffs, and geopolitical friction, China's export machine is still firing on all cylinders. The jump has been particularly pronounced in sectors like electric vehicles, batteries, solar panels, and advanced electronics, all areas where China has been aggressively expanding its manufacturing capacity and global market share. The data underscores just how resilient the Chinese economy's trade sector has remained, even as domestic consumption has faced headwinds. For global policymakers, and especially for the United States and Europe, which have been imposing their own tariffs on Chinese goods, this surge will likely add urgency to debates about how to respond to China's growing industrial dominance. It's a story about economics, but it's really a story about the shifting balance of global power. And finally, before we wrap up, a major development in international football governance. BBC Sport is reporting that UEFA, the governing body of European football, has made clear that a boycott of FIFA events remains very much on the table, even after FIFA's leadership backed Gianni Infantino at a key meeting this week. UEFA's response to that vote of confidence was blunt. The backing of Infantino, they said, changes absolutely nothing. The Football Association here in England has already withdrawn its support for Infantino, adding more fuel to what is becoming a genuine institutional crisis at the top of world football. This is a clash between the two most powerful forces in global soccer, UEFA representing Europe's elite clubs and national federations, and FIFA governing the sport worldwide. The stakes are enormous. If UEFA were to follow through on a boycott, it could potentially keep European teams out of FIFA-sanctioned tournaments, including, in the extreme scenario, a future World Cup. That would be unprecedented in modern football. Whether this escalates further or gets resolved through negotiation remains to be seen, but right now, the rift at the top of the game is very real and very public.